I was coming home late one night, and I backed my car into the driveway as usual. It was a cloudy, dark night, and the porch light was off. The front porch of my house is old and made out of wood. It's about 3 to 4 feet off the ground with space to crawl underneath. As I climbed the stairs, I felt my ankle get caught in something, tripping me up a little. I looked down and there was a hand grabbing my ankle. I gasped and kicked my leg back as hard as I could, breaking the grip. I then ran and frantically unlocked the front door. I finally managed to open the door and get in. I was freaked the fuck out, but I looked out the front window through a crack in the curtains while finding the number for the police department. The cops showed up later, but didn't find anyone, and they said they've never heard of this kind of thing happening before. They said they didn't see any footprints or anything underneath the porch either. This was a couple of years ago, and I still live in the same house. I tell myself that it was some kids from the neighborhood fucking with me, or maybe my friends. No one has ever admitted anything though, but I'll never know for sure, I guess. I did buy a motion activated light for the front porch since then. When I was 18, I used to work graveyard shifts at a yacht club, and one night, on some downtime, I watched The Exorcist 3. The yacht club at night was creepy enough. Lots of creaking boats and their moorings, long, dark, poorly lit docks, no one around, and a fire station every 50 feet that included a fire axe, so a potential killer would always have a weapon handy if he needed one. So, I was doing my rounds, quietly walking the perimeter of the club, the empty clubhouse, and the lengths of the docks, trying not to freak out after so thoroughly freaking myself out. As I was almost finished, I was in a section of dock where some larger boats were moored, so visibility was even worse as I couldn't see over the boats. I walked past one boat when this huge figure, which had been totally quiet until that moment, suddenly lunged toward me, screaming incoherently and coming fast. I completely freaked out, and for some reason my survival instinct thought it would be a good idea to dive into the water. So it's 3 a.m, I'm already terrified, and now I'm underwater. Can't see any lights, and then can't find the surface because I came up underneath a floating dock. I started panicking, and someone managed to find my way to a gap where I could breathe. I took a breath, and then despite still being in a complete state of panic, I found my way to the edge of the dock and looked up. There stood a crane, still slowly opening and closing its wings in a threat display, and still making some shrill loud noise. I must have been sleeping while standing in a post between some boats, and since it was elevated, it looked even bigger than it was, and it was pretty big. I hauled myself out of the water, and as the tension and adrenaline left my system, I threw up into the water. I've never felt that kind of primal terror before, both when the crane initially scared me, and then when I realized I was underwater, in the dark, and couldn't find the surface. Two of my friends were spending the night at my parents' house. We were all still in high school. My bedroom was a room away from the kitchen, connected by a pantry and hallway. I heard the back door hand jiggle, which meant a cat wanted to go outside, so I wanted to let it out and get a drink. As I walked into the kitchen, I noticed there was no cat there, and the door to the basement was wide open, which we always left closed and locked. So I closed and locked the basement door, a tad unnerved, but it didn't matter. Next to the basement door was a staircase that went upstairs to the second floor. This is relevant later. A couple hours later, I hear the fridge door close. I noticed that because I didn't hear it open, but it was in a different room, so that's not too weird. What made it weird was that I didn't hear anyone walk down the stairs, or by my bedroom from the front of the house. The back stairs to the second floor are really loud and creaky, so I would have heard something. Unnerved, I took a knife and went into the kitchen. I see no one in there, but immediately noticed smoke coming up from under the basement door. I opened it up and it was filled with smoke. I closed it, got my parents up, called the fire department, go get ready to sleep in my car for the night, as it was about 4 a.m. at this point. A firefighter comes and tells us it's okay to go back into the house now. For some reason, the furnace had caught fire inside and was filling the house with carbon monoxide. Had my friends and I went to sleep, we'd all be dead. Still have no clue what jiggled the doorknob or closed the fridge, but it kept me alive. was on a Girl Scout trip staying in this older house in Sandy Hook. I think I was around 11 or 12. We were all in bed, and for some reason I wanted to go downstairs. I remember hearing the parents talking in the downstairs kitchen, and I was walking toward where I saw a little broom. Then, it all disappears, and I'm standing in the middle of an empty, dilapidated room. Random crap, plaster on the floor, no furniture. I freak out and try to retrace my steps back to where I thought the adults were. I wander around for a bit and finally find a staircase. Weird. The staircase was blocked by a couch at the bottom. Then I realized I had been sleepwalking and somehow managed to go up to the 3rd floor where we were told not to go. When I was younger and visiting my parents, I took my stumpy, never met a stranger lab mutt out to go potty around 5 a.m. At the end of the super long driveway, I ran into a guy just kind of hanging out in the pine trees. He asked for a cigarette, and when I said I didn't have one, he wished me a good night. The whole time my happy little dog, she must have been around 10 months old, was straining towards him for attention. I get halfway up to the driveway when she suddenly lunges behind me, practically ripping my shoulder out of the socket, just going absolutely apeshit, something I've never and still haven't seen from her to this day, 8 years later. When I spun around to get her under control, I see the guy is just beyond her reach, booking it away. He was following me up the driveway. Later I remember my family remarking over the few days I was there that it smelled like cigarettes around the front porch and garage. This guy had probably been hanging around our house. I don't know what would have happened had my dog not flipped her shit. A photo of said stumpy dog to lighten the post. Just copy and pasting one of my old comments. I saw something weird and fucking creepy. So, have you ever seen what you thought looked like a person out of the corner of your eye, but they disappear before you get a good look at it? Well, while I was on Netflix and browsing Reddit, I saw a head peeking out from the stairwell. When I looked at it, it was still there. It slowly moved its head back behind the wall. I got a good enough look at it that it seemed to be charred or burned. The thing that creeps me out the most is that my puppy, who was with me at the time, looked at that spot for the next 5 minutes, with his hair and his ears perked up.